Hey guys, so I've had a couple of requests to show you guys how my sanding block works. Basically it is just a block of plywood with two 1/4-inch channels routed into it on either side. And then there are two 1/4-inch rods, and they're stainless rods that I just had lying around in this case, that fit into it, and the whole thing's held together by these rubber bands. And basically, to change the sandpaper, you roll the rods back, like I showed you, into the middle, lay a piece of sandpaper over the block, and then roll the rod into the channel like that, which holds it in place. Then you wrap the sandpaper around it, get some tension on it, push the sandpaper underneath the rod, and then roll the other rod into the channel. So it ends up being held very tightly in place, but it's still very easy to change. Much easier to change actually than any of the like lever lock or screw lock systems that I've seen for sanding blocks. I came up with the design for this while I was trying to make another sanding block with like a screw clamp and a bunch of other stuff that was really complicated, and this just kind of happened and it's worked really well. The only thing is, because this one's just made out of birch ply, it doesn't really like wet sanding. It's kind of fallen apart. So today I'm going to show you how to make another one quickly, just out of phenolic or whatever else you've got lying around, like a hard plastic or something that doesn't care about water, because this really is a very useful little tool. Alright, so the dimensions for the sanding block are 3.7 inches wide by 1.7 inches high, and then 3/4 of an inch thick. Anything around that size will work. It doesn't have to be perfect. I need to sand off this countertop texture, so I'm just going to throw it on the belt sander for a minute. Okay, so I've got the phenolic block set up in my milling vise on my milling machine. As I said, if you don't have a milling machine, don't let that put you off, because you could do the same operation on a router table. If you know anyone that has a router table, you could do it with a trim router if you've got like a follower guide. You could do it on a table saw. You could do it on all sorts of different tools if you're willing to be a bit ingenious. You could also do it by hand with files. That would probably take a while longer than I would want to invest though. So now, because we're doing 1/4-inch channels for 1/4-inch rods, they need to be half a diameter deep, so they need to be 1/8 deep. Alright, so now that we've got the two lengthwise channels done, we need to do crosswise channels, top and bottom, so the underneath and the top here, so that we can have a place for the rubber bands or the O-rings to recess into. Basically just stops them from flopping around all over. Alright, and then the last step here is just to round off these sharp corners at the edges here where the O-rings or the rubber bands can run around. And I'm just using a half-round needle file just to take those edges off so that we don't end up cutting the rubber band. Okay, so now our sanding block is deburred and it's ready to go. So basically you just put the 2 rods in the channels. And now I'm using O-rings. You can use rubber bands, but O-rings are stronger. A good source of the O-rings is actually at the dollar store. Oftentimes they have like sampler packs of different O-rings that might be useful around the house. And they're only $1 for, you know, maybe 20 or 30 O-rings, so it's a pretty good deal. And just wrap those around so that they go through the channel there. Do the other one. They have to be on good and tight, which they are. And this one's an improvement over the last one because the O-rings are actually flush on the bottom, which the other one wasn't, and they were getting in the way, so that is a good thing. Alright, now to put the sandpaper on, you move the rods into the middle, put the sandpaper here, roll the rod on top of it, stretch it around the block, like so. Cut it so that it's just sticking up over the edge by about 1/4 inch or so. Fold it down and then roll the other rod on top of it. As you can see, that holds it in place really well. And you're good to go.